Hi, this is Mark Bowser, and today I want to introduce you to my friend Danny Lane. Danny Lane is one of Chuck Norris's top black belts and has trained with Chuck for 38 years. Danny is a 9th degree black belt. Yeah, you heard me, 9th degree black belt. He's a Grand Master, 9-time National Martial Arts Champion, former World Kickboxing Champion. You know, he is the real deal. But today I want to talk to you about a different part of Danny's life. Danny also was a decorated police officer and detective. But before all that, he was an American hero in Vietnam. This story that I had an honor of writing with Danny, called Some Gave It All, is about his story in Southeast Asia in 1968 and 1969, in the heart of the war. It's the skinny on what happened during the war that most Americans have never heard. You see, my friends, I have a degree in history with an emphasis on American history. But I learned things working with Danny in order to write his story that I never heard or never learned in my history class. Let me give you an example. Danny started talking to me about rock apes. And I kind of stopped him right there and go, whoa, wait a minute. What are you talking about? I've never heard of a rock ape. And he goes, oh yeah, you know, these apes, they walked on 2 legs and they were about so tall. Well, at the dusk of night, you couldn't tell, was that a man or was that an ape? What was that? The North Vietnamese army and the Viet Cong trained these apes to infiltrate the American lines and to attack our troops by throwing rocks as well as grenades at our troops. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? They had to deal with so much more than we can even imagine. You've probably heard about the tunnels. Now, most Americans, we think about, yeah, we've heard about the tunnels. You know, it's basically probably a big hole in the ground, maybe a room underground. Oh no. Our enemy that we had to face in Southeast Asia, they built barracks underground, hospitals underground. They even had roads where they could get from the north to the south, equipment as big as trucks underground. This enemy would pop up, and they were so cunning, they would pop out of nowhere, attack our troops, and then disappear. So how do you deal with an enemy like that? Well, you send in people like Danny Lane. But in reality, he was just a kid. He was 19 years old. Think about that. Many of you listening to this today are not that old, but most of you are older than 19. Can you imagine at 19 being sent over to deal with those type of traumas? There were days at a time, weeks, 90 to 100 days, where Danny and his fire team of 4 guys would be out in the jungle 24 hours a day, in the rain, the monsoon rains, the heat, the mosquitoes, and of course battling the enemy and always in threat of attack. That's what Some Gave It All is about. It's about his story. We wrote it to read like a novel, to be viewed similar to the best action movies. That's what we wanted to do, is to give you the real story of what Danny Lane and the American heroes went through in Southeast Asia, but in a way that is not like the boring documentary type history books, but one that's alive, that takes you out there in the bush, right there with Danny. Some Gave It All. You can pick it up in a number of places. To get an autographed copy from me, go to markbowser.com/somegaveitallbook. The link is in the video description. Also, you can get it at amazon.com or a bookstore near you. Pick up a copy. Learn what a true American hero and the heroes along with Danny went through in Southeast Asia. Thanks for listening today. God bless you.